Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another amazing episode of Back to the Podcast. We're your host, Justin Neal, and I am Chris Lawler. And our mission is to create an entertaining, cinema-centric discussion about the past, present, and future of all things revolving around entertainment. Please don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe on wherever you consume your content. On today's show, Justin and I will just dive into the films of our lives and discuss the movies that still hold up many years later. Justin, it's been a week. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. It's been a really good week. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm so happy that we're sitting down to do this again. Doing this has been a lot of fun. So thank you for anyone that's been joining us on our brand new adventure of starting this up. I hope that we continue to entertain you. But moving on to that, of course, I want to know what you've been watching this week. Anything good? Anything I need to know about?
Yeah, it's been really fun. So my wife and I have been watching The Diplomat at night and not binging it. We've been doing an episode, maybe two at most.
Okay.
And then like I have to get sleep. So it's one of those like I have to put it away and say like, yeah, I want to keep watching, but you know what? Tomorrow is going to be worse if I don't get some sleep. So I'm getting better at, capping it off, but it's also kind of nice to come back to something like TV used to be where, you only watch an episode and then next week you get another episode. And now we can do it in the evenings, but it has been nice for it to trickle through and not watch the whole thing.
Wait, but what is The Diplomat?
The Diplomat.
Haven't heard of this.
Yeah, it's show on Netflix, got Carrie Russell, and amongst others, of course, but Carrie Russell's
you know what?
lead.
I did see something. I saw a promo because I definitely would recognize Carrie Russell. I was like, oh, she's got a new show. Awesome. What's it about?
So she gets thrust into the position of being an ambassador to England. And she was expecting to go to like Darfur. Or no, that's not right. Somewhere in the Middle East. Anyway, that's what she's trying to go into a war zone, and because of circumstances, she gets sent like on a diplomatic mission to England, and it's supposed to be like she's very upset because it's like a puff position, and that is not
things
what
go wrong.
And she's supposed to like she is someone who's trained to go into very difficult situations and try to broker peace between like warring factions of rebellious dictators and stuff like that. And so that's why she cuts through the bullshit and gets things done in very in very bad situations. She gets sent to London, and she's like, seriously, this isn't me. This is what I'm supposed to do. Now there's more going on, but she finds herself like the situation is growing into something, and she finds herself in the middle of it. And so she's still doing what she does in a situation she wasn't expecting to do. And there are things going on. I think it's highly entertaining.
So thumbs up on this one.
Yeah, we like it. My wife and I like it. 6 or 7.
6 or 7. Okay, cool. All right.
Oh, it just ended last night. That was the thing. So the season ended.
Okay.
So the season ended last night, and I was really surprised because it didn't. I mean, yeah, it was cliffhanger. Sure, I get that.
Yeah.
But it felt like a wait, that's the last episode. I didn't realize it was the last episode. Like nothing about it felt to me like I was like, but that's where you guys chose. I was a little confused about where they chose to in the season, but it was certainly a cliffhanger. So I'll watch the second season. I'll start it.
Excellent.
Yeah. Cool. What about you? Have you been watching anything?
A few things. I went back and watched some classics this week. Fight Club. Love that movie. Seen it so many times. Don't even know why I sat down and rewatched that, but I think it was on something streaming. So I was like, hey, that
movie is brilliant.
I love it. I really do. And then I watched The Breakdown with Kurt Russell. The wife found that on one of the streaming things and started watching it without me. And I was like, oh, this is a good one. Keep going. And stuff like that.
When did that one come out? I don't know. I'm not familiar with that one.
I think 97. So yeah, with Kurt Russell, JT Walsh, trying to think of any other actors from that one. But pretty kind of low budget suspense thriller. Have you ever seen it?
No. I'm not familiar with it. Around that time, I always think of 3,000 Miles to Graceland with Kevin Costner and Kurt Russell. Yeah. That was around that.
I think it was a couple years later.
Executive decision, that sort of thing. That was some 90s Kurt Russell.
But no, this one was one of those.
No, I don't know
hits. Yeah, it came out, and they're on him and his wife are on a road trip. Wife gets kidnapped at a truck stop, but they convince the guy that like the wife was never with him and stuff, and he's gone crazy. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's a little bit of a suspense thriller. The ending fight scene was pretty intense as well. I won't give anything away. I don't know why we wouldn't spoil a 25-year-old film, but
Yeah, I was about to say,
for
yes.
those of you that haven't seen it,
Trigger
go
warning,
and enjoy it.
y'all.
I wish I could remember what it was on. Amazon Prime, something like that, but one of those random movies. And then as some surprise hit, I really probably shouldn't mention it because I can't think of the name, but that prehistoric Jurassic Park Planet Earth documentary on Apple TV.
Oh, I remember seeing a
narrated by
promo for
David
that.
Attenborough.
Is
Yeah.
Attenborough?
Yeah, and it's hard. You get captivated by it. You're like, oh no, the dinosaur is
Sure,
going
I
to die,
love
and you're like, this
those.
is all fake. It's all computer animation, but it's really well
Yes.
done. John Favreau produced it, so they're using probably
Cool.
the Unreal Engine
Unreal
5.
Engine. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's all about that.
And doing some good stuff. So that's
Sure.
about it in a nutshell. So nothing too crazy.
I'm sure it looks fantastic. I just saw a demo for the Unreal Engine 5.2 or whatever. Anyway, it's the next iteration of whatever like version they're on.
Yeah.
And it's really, and it's not my, I mean, it's my industry, sure, but it's not my specific like department within the industry, but I know about it because it's a new technology and I think it's fascinating. And actually I'd like to utilize it at some point, but it is pretty wild what that idea and how they started that a long time ago. And the idea,
that's why we have the Unreal Tournament.
and we talked about this.
Yeah.
I think a little bit in the effects, how instead of like you create an environment, an entire environment, and then put your people in that, or put whatever your objects, your characters, whatever it is within that, and then move the camera within that virtual space, as opposed to shooting and then putting things kind of layered on top of it. It's interesting. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
It is. You got it. Is. I've been following because I'm a big gamer. I know that's not this channel, but yeah, I've been following that engine for many years, and my parents thought I was crazy and didn't know what I was talking about, and obviously now, and everyone knows what it is because it's being utilized in so many different formats now. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, that's really all I was watching this week. Nothing too much to rant and rave about, but let's dive into what we're going to talk about today. I mean, today we're going to keep it kind of simple and just gush about movies. But before we talk about our bigger topic, I wanted to know what is, because, you know, we just found out you've never seen Breakdown, right? So we haven't seen every movie out there. There is a list of shame that we carry around with us. I keep mine definitely in my back pocket for when people are always like, oh, you've never seen that? I thought you've seen everything. So what is on your list of shame? What is the like big thing that you've never seen as someone who is an, you know, ravenous fan of film? What have you never seen?
So when the biggest shame for me that I hold, and really,
this better be good.
Best way to yeah. So my shame is I have never seen an Akira Kurosawa movie. Now, for some of you people who don't know who Kurosawa is, he's a Japanese filmmaker. Very prominent in the earlier to mid parts of the 20th century,
right? Like wasn't like Star
but
Wars,
the thing about Kurosawa,
see,
this is the thing about Kurosawa is like all the people that I studied from the like magic 70s, like Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Francis Ford Coppola, all those cats that all kind of came out in Southern California in the 70s, that sort of thing. The film school people, because before that, people got into the industry through like an apprenticeship. It was that's where the unions are. It was all very like you did this one thing and you followed that path up through the ranks. You didn't touch anything that was outside of your very specific job scope. And then you started working for people, and then as they went up, they moved up the ranks, then you moved up the ranks. And it was very much like that until the 70s. And that's when these kids who grew up in California, like Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, they all decided to go to film school, and they learned film theory that way. And they became the auteurs, whatever. It was the director's vision. Whereas before it was very much a feudal system. No, it was, everything was very, regimented. So almost militaristic in the way movies were made. And so they kind of came in with a different sort of style. So all of those guys that I studied all studied Akira Kurosawa, Seven Samurai, stuff
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah,
Those
heard of
were
that.
that
Yep.
was who all of them studied. And people ask me, especially Seven Samurai's most, probably notable of his, and people say,
Right.
what's your favorite Kurosawa? And I'm like, I've
And
actually
Seven Samurai, isn't that
never.
the same way with the Western that they turned that into, right? Where like
Magnificent Seven or
Magnificent
whatever.
Seven, that's what I'm thinking of. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, totally. It's been
Yeah,
redone. I mean, it's a pretty, a pretty universal story. And that's the thing about
right,
Kurosawa is he wrote about, or not wrote, but he made movies about kind of with universal stories. And that's how those things were broken down. And Lucas took that and really took all of those ideas
right.
for storytelling and
Like
put it into
Star
Star
Wars, right?
Wars.
Yeah.
That's where Star Wars, but Star Wars is like directly Lucas would say,
Taken from
he's like, this
Kurosawa.
is all from Kurosawa. And
Okay.
not done,
So
not seen a single. So one day in my life, I will go down that rabbit hole.
so
I
the
will read
number one thing I'm hearing is
all
for
of them.
Christmas, get you a box set of Kurosawa films.
Kurosawa would be cool. I need to start with Kurosawa. What about you? What are you ashamed of? What are you for
The
shame,
one
Lawler?
that comes up the most is The Godfather for me. I have never
For
seen I
shame.
know. I've never seen The Godfather. For that, I've never seen the trilogy of The Godfather as well. I've seen so many snippets of it. I feel like I know that movie inside and out, though. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like blind to it, but I have never sat down and actually just watched that one or the second one, which everyone seems to say the second one
Godfather
was
Part
better
Two,
than the
sure.
first. So
Um,
that's
I can just
that's
hear my wife being like, "Who cares? Godfather's boring."
is it.
And she's not wrong. Like it is long and it's
See, and
not
that's my
exciting.
problem.
It's not
Every time I
exciting.
tried to watch it, it was just not in the mood to sit down and watch something long
Gotta,
and slow.
yeah. And it's
It's
like
not that I
Apocalypse
haven't
Now.
tried.
Also, Francis Ford Coppola. It's like Apocalypse Now, man. You gotta really slow
There,
your
yeah.
roll and be in the mood for that. And it's not
Ooh,
something you
you
just.
just brought up
And
another one. That's another one.
God,
I've never seen Apocalypse Now.
really? Okay.
So I
The
just
first
added
time
a
I tried
second
to
one to
watch
that list
it,
of
I
shame
hated
without
it
thinking
in
about
high
it.
school. Well, that was me in high school. Like when I tried to watch it for the first time, I think in high school, I was like, "What the fuck is this? Oh my god, I am so bored. Nothing is happening. Can something fucking
Mm,
please happen?" And so I was definitely like that. And it wasn't until I guess in my 20s and I kind of rewatched it again when I was studying kind of the process of making movies is when I went back and started rewatching some of that stuff and I started
yeah,
appreciating them because I started
yeah,
thinking, how did they do that? And I started appreciating the movie because of what they accomplished. And I started watching it less as just what are you showing? You know what I mean? Like, what did you get? Now I'm thinking more of like, well, how did they even get that and why? And I started breaking it down more. And that's when I started appreciating things like The Godfather and
see,
Apocalypse
and
Now and shit like that.
I bet I could go back and appreciate some stuff
You
like
know
that. But
more
yeah,
now.
yeah, I do. I
In
know a lot more
context,
now.
and it's good too to read up a little bit about something like that. To give it context about like because sometimes movies are reactionary and you might watch something 30 years later and think like well, everyone knows this now, or this is stupid, or whatever, it's out of place, or it doesn't work. But at that time, it could have been specifically designed because of a reactionary response to contemporary events. And so
Yeah, right.
watch it through the lens of,
Is it a film
well,
of its
what,
era?
what they were
Yeah,
trying to do was
yeah.
fucking awesome because everyone else was doing that or whatever. And you might not appreciate as much unless you know that. And if you know that, you can watch it going, oh man, this is great because of what they were trying to do or blah blah blah. So I also try to watch things through a lens of context. I find that it helps a lot in appreciation of things, whatever, just art
Yeah.
in general too, not just movies but just
Well,
art.
we before we started filming, you gave me a great suggestion to go back and if I do check it out, get it on Blu-ray, get the like nice
Yeah,
rendered
the
edition.
restoration.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
restored one.
so
Yeah,
that was a thing that
check it
there
out
was
like that.
actually no copy of The Godfather on film that was in condition because at the time they used to send out film prints and stuff and
Right?
dupes
Yeah.
of dupes and blah blah blah. It was a mess. And so when they went to go do the Blu-ray, they realized they didn't have a complete version of the movie. And they actually had to piecemeal it together from the best versions that they can find from different
Wow.
sources. No shit, even personal sources of people, like,
Wow.
Hollywood moguls with archives in
Yeah.
their back shed of films, and film prints and shit. So anyway, they had to piecemeal together and then scan that all in at a super, like 4K resolution, and
Yeah.
then smooth it all off in post, get rid of all the, the debris and shit on film,
Yeah.
clean
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And so that it's an accurate representation. They're not making it look better. They're trying to make it look as
As
it
it was
should
intended to be
look.
seen. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for that, it is, it looks,
Okay.
it looks like it was shot in 1972, but it looks
Well,
clean.
hopefully I can do that soon
Yeah,
and
Godfather's good, but
share
it's
my thoughts with good Lord. How old is that movie now? What was that? 79?
72.
72. So yeah.
Apocalypse Now
That's,
was 79.
wow. So that would be really cool to go back and, visit something
I like it. It's interesting. I
historic like
think it's
that.
an interesting thing to study. I like studying The
Okay.
Godfather more than like watching it as a like, hey man, let's throw let's throw
Well,
The Godfather. That movie's awesome. It's like, well, we're putting on The Godfather. There's a lot to say about it, but we're like, it's like going to a museum or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's not
I can't
playtime.
wait. I had not watched it out of like hate or something, but
Sure.
when you grow up, when we grew up, or just like how kids have to grow up now, it takes extra effort to go back and go
True.
into the archives and find out. That's why I feel so sorry for people born now, because it's like there's so many good films to go back and like rewatch and discover and whatnot. And maybe that's also a blessing too, is that they can go and find all of these things that are old and still make them new to themselves and stuff. But this fits right in. Maybe I can fit The Godfather onto our next list, which is going to be movies that still hold up today, timeless classics, if you will. And I love talking about this. I love talking or going back and rewatching a movie from my childhood and being like, this affects me the same way as it did as an adult, or, as an adult, it affects me the same way as it did as a kid. That's what I meant to say and stuff like that. And I mean, you've been watching cinema probably since you can remember, right?
Born. Yeah. I
Yeah.
can't remember a time where I didn't enjoy watching movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's part of my life. It's part of my
It's-
life story is
Yeah. It's
American
it's
20th century
your
American
DNA.
cinema is like, yeah, it's part of my cellular makeup.
Yeah.
Cinema.
I used
is.
to just sit and watch movies like back to back. I remember some weekends, then there was nothing to do, or if it was raining outside and stuff like that. Hell, even on really nice days. So
Me and my mom and my sister can do 4 or 5 movies in a day.
don't
like
you miss
watch
that?
something when we wake up, watch something before lunch, watch another movie, go see something in the theater, then come back and watch another movie after dinner, sort of thing.
That's
like
not
4
what
or
we were
5
going to talk
movies.
about, but that's why I miss 90-minute movies as well. It made watching
Sure.
them back to back a lot easier to digest. Now, when I turn on something, they're 2.5 hours plus
It's
every time.
minimum almost. Yeah, my wife's been talking about that for a long time. She's not wrong. Is like she's been commenting on it for a while now that like, man, all movies are 3 hours long now.
Yeah. But
they used to be outliers, now it's the norm.
Yeah, yeah. I love how like we used to have the VHS tapes from like HBO or TV or whatever, and we would record a bunch of movies.
On an
You
extended
would write
play,
down like all 6 of the movies that were on there and stuff.
That's right.
And then I was pretty good about it. I would make sure not to get the credits and stuff to save that time on the
smart.
tape. And so like the movie would end, credits would start, and then another movie would start, and you're like, I'm watching this too.
Better, you pause at commercials. If it's made for if it was like an old one, like my first copy of Star Wars was recorded from televion, and there were like KFC, there was like Buick and KFC commercials, and anyway, sort of thing, and you would see it start, and then it would just clip into like sort of thing, like like there's a jump. You can tell that there was a commercial or whatever. It was very awkward, but that also saves time. That also saves tape space.
Well, what are the movies from your childhood that still hold up today?
Well, like, actually,
it's not even your childhood. What still holds up? I mean, we're years older.
Which is interesting in it because it's not nostalgia based, which is a totally real thing, and I'm not negating that, and we're going to talk about some movies that probably fall into that list, which is a personal thing. But even just objectively, one that I find so interesting is a movie I didn't see. Of course I had heard of, but I didn't see until I was in my mid-20s, and that's Casablanca.
Oh,
So I was working at a one of the first
I
video
have
jobs that
not
wasn't a
seen this.
rental place, but actually like making dupes and transferring old film to
Mhm.
VHS and then DVD and doing basic editing stuff, like the really basic foundations of what became my like career and craft.
Mhm.
I got when I was a senior in high school, but when about my mid 20s at one of the locations, it was just a day where it wasn't a super busy day, or it was like automated stuff. So I'm there to like maintain and take things out and put new things in. So someone's got to be there, but it wasn't difficult. So I could just sit and watch movies. It was awesome. Or listen direct. That's when I did a lot of directors' commentaries and stuff like that, because I like learning about the process of
Yeah,
making movies. Like, what did they have to go through
I
to
love
get
listening to
this?
director commentaries.
Yeah. So, but one of the movies that was on the shelf with just, miscellaneous things of like discs and tapes and just all kinds of
Mhm.
head cleaners and, shit like that, was an old VHS copy of Casablanca. And
Wow.
it had been staring at me for a year or whatever from there. And I finally one day, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking watch Casablanca. So I put it on and I fucking love that
There you
movie.
go, man. Straight from
It
the horse's mouth. Check out
totally
Casablanca if you've never
plays.
seen it. You might love it.
Totally plays. I was in my mid 20s. Like I knew
Okay.
what this was. Like I just hadn't seen it. But I watched it like, this is fantastic. Like great story, characters, acting, just
Yeah.
everything about it. Like it's
Okay.
of its period. So you have to watch it
Right.
knowing like it's of its, when it was
Time.
made, why it
Right.
was made, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. But if you watch it going like, but this story and the acting, like all of that stuff, the real stuff, the like humanity or whatever that kind of
Yeah.
draws us in is totally plays.
Okay.
Totally plays. And what's even better, I know now, I've read a book about it, is none of them got along.
Oh,
It was
really? It was
the
one of those
the
kind of movies?
director was an old school
Wow.
like Hollywood tyrant asshole. Like it was
Oh,
just like no one like no one was friends. It was a job. Well, to them, it was just a job. Like
job, right.
and it wasn't
And then
like
somehow
that
it
was
came
an
together and it was
outlier
the
of an
most
experience,
magical
but there
thing,
was
huh?
nothing like that was kind
Wow.
of like what movies were a lot like making anyway at that time. But there was nothing about that went, when they were done with it, no one thought, wow, that was a magical experience. This is going to be
Mm.
a
They just
timeless
moved
movie for
on,
the
huh?
ages. It was done and over. If no one saw it, no one cared, sort of thing.
Wow.
And then it got nominated for every Academy Award,
Yeah,
and
I
it has
didn't win
become.
Best Picture that year. I'm pretty sure it did, right?
And so it's actually it came out during it was like 44. It's been a while since I did a deep
Okay.
dive on the trivia of, everything about it. But
Yeah,
anyway,
exactly.
Casablanca, I just think it's really interesting
Okay.
to that me, my eyes were open at that point, like in terms of cinema and what was going on, blah, blah, blah. And so like I watched it going, this is fucking great. Like no one was there, but I'm like smacking the invisible friend. You're like, are you watching this movie? This is fantastic. Like,
Oh,
holy
wow.
shit, how
So
have
you
I
also
never
had, like,
seen
an
this?
existential out-of-body, like,
Yeah, like
experience where you
this
were
is
seeing it
fucking
with other
awesome.
people. Gotcha.
So it
That's
was great.
great.
Anyway,
No, that's good. I've
I highly
never seen
recommend, and
Casablanca
it's up there
myself,
as one of those
so
classics that
okay.
you haven't seen, but no, man, that movie
Yeah,
plays. It's great.
that's great. Well, then mine actually kind of fits in that same like nook and cranny, because mine is not necessarily just from my childhood, but something I know I grew up watching, and I'm sure a lot of other people did. But The Wizard of Oz, I think
Classic.
it's just timeless. I mean, it goes from that black and white right into the color. It's just painting magic and dripping with like all of this like bizarre, like otherworldly kind of stuff. I know they've
It
made a
is a
couple of
strange
Wizard of
movie.
Oz movies since, but it kind of
The
fits in its
Wiz.
own genre. What's that?
The Wiz.
The Wiz, yeah.
Yeah.
My big one was The Return to Oz. That I liked.
Wasn't
That one
what's her
tripped
name
me out.
was in that? She she was in The
Don't hurt yourself.
Craft.
I know from The Craft. I can't think of her name
But
right
she
now.
was the child
Yeah,
actress in
yeah,
that, right? The Return,
yeah.
the sequel, and then she
Mhm.
became okay. I'm sure, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, The
I never
Wizard of
saw that
Oz,
one.
right? Like
When was
the
the last time you watched
songs.
The Wizard of Oz?
Ooh, now that has been a long time since I've actually
Me
watched it,
too.
but
I'm kind
I
of curious.
do
I need
know
to.
that I've seen it I saw it quite a few times, definitely in my adult years. Now I'm
Okay,
more
and it's still
adult.
played.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
I mean, once again, it's a great story. I love how like even though today we're always like, oh man, they dreamt it up, right? They get to the end of the movie and it was like all a dream kind of bullshit. And
Sure.
we hate that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the
yeah.
Wizard of Oz is the one that started that
Yeah,
trend.
that's okay. Oh, who did it?
Yeah,
Well,
you
I
know,
think,
and you were there,
in
and you
terms
were
of
there.
storytelling, probably not, but maybe in terms of American like cinema and that sort of way that
Yeah, but you know what I'm
it could
trying to
start
say.
that.
Like,
I do.
he wakes up and you were there, and you
Oh,
were
and
there.
you
I
were
love
there.
it. I love
It's
it.
been a long time, actually. As the boys get a little bit older, because I know some people had some traumatic experiences with that movie. It can be really creepy, the monkeys and stuff. Like, I didn't have that
Monkeys.
experience, so to me, it's like
Yeah.
let's just show them whatever. But I know it. It affected. Oh, okay. Well, I know it bothered some people when they were younger. So we're waiting
You
a little bit
forget
before
about
we show
that,
the
right? Like
boys.
you put
But
in a movie and you forget about that one part. You're like, oh, that's right. That's in this. I probably
it's
forgot about that.
problematic, or the whole like, or what's even worse is when you're like, actually, this whole fucking movie is like,
Yeah, right. Why did I think this was a good idea to show
holy
this to somebody?
shit, like this is not
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, no, let's
So
find
yeah,
something
that's
else to
crazy that
watch.
we had two classics on there.
Old school. All right, so we got the old timey,
Yeah, a little bit. I got
movies
one more
covered.
that's kind of a little bit old timey, but what's your next one that still holds up?
Okay, so and you lit up like a pinball machine when I threw this one out earlier, but I'm gonna hop to one of my favorite decades, of course, the 90s. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with that still holds up is The Usual Suspects.
Yeah, that one's good.
Um So I remember my sister, it came out, I was too young to see it when it came out, but my
Yeah,
older
we were both
sister
a
was the
little too young
one.
for that
Yeah, it
one.
was
Yeah,
95, so I was like
yeah.
14, 15 years old. But a couple years later, I bet, so my sister went to undergrad out of state. She was a freshman in college when I became a freshman in high school. So like
Oh, okay.
we lived together when I was in middle school, and then she was gone. So from like high school forever, I would see her at Christmas maybe, and then, she was, went back to where she was going, in a different state. And so, but when she came for Christmas, we both have a movie, when we weren't bickering or whatever, like we watched movies, or if we weren't bickering about movies, we were watching more movies and that sort of thing. So, but one of the movies that she showed me was The Usual Suspects.
That's cool.
It was a cool, like, it was a really cool movie. It was like, that's more of a Gen X movie. And I'm like, we are the oldest millennials and the youngest Gen Xers. That's kind of how I think of us. Like, I still kind of think of myself as like the the Gen X younger brother sort of thing. So I still have like a foot as the youngest of the Gen X, and then I'm like the oldest millennial sort of thing, because I was born in 81. So my little sister is Gen X, and so I got, that sort of culture and subculture and stuff like that from her. Sort of, it trickled down to me.
That's cool.
So The Usual Suspects was one that was for her, like sort of, slightly older than us. That was for them, and it was really cool. And then she showed it to me. And if you don't know, there is a twist at the end. And
spoilers.
I have yet to, I'm not going to tell you what it is. It doesn't matter. But honestly, that's a movie I have yet to meet someone who said, I totally called that movie.
Yeah.
Now, if you know, and I mean that organically, someone who watches it organically does not know. Now, if you go in knowing like there's a fucking twist and you're going to watch the whole movie trying to figure out what the twist is, maybe you can put something together, but not really, because you're not privy to all of the information until the end anyway. So you can't call it because you don't
necessarily a lot of like clues that
there is no clues. Like it all draws up. It's just a way to reinterpret what you already watched.
Story, and he's lying. So we're the audience, we're the detectives, so we're being lied to the whole time. So I don't think
an interpretation of events. So you can't really do it.
Yeah,
that's the point. The twist is like you can't call it. It's just a sort of thing. Whereas like you mentioned Fight Club, most people don't call it. There are clues once you know, like there are Tyler Durden and stuff like that. But even when it came out, no one knew until it was revealed that they're. And even when it was revealed, most people were like, "Wait, they're the same person." Some people still don't understand what that movie's about.
It took me quite a few viewings to actually pick out
put it all together.
No, the Brad Pitt
to pull it all,
snippets. He shows up in like one frame every now and then. Dude, it took me quite a few viewings to see that one frame and stuff like that. So I like that they were subtle. But this, Usual Suspects.
So and Usual Suspects, it's a great, and it's such an oddball cast.
It's so odd.
So Spacey, who got supporting actor for it.
Uh-huh.
That was his first Academy, and then he got Best Actor for American Beauty. But
Oh,
Spacey got it for supporting actor. But people like Chaz Palminteri, Baldwin, Kevin Pollak, these are
yeah.
all like the whole cast.
Benicio del Toro, before.
Benicio was young, that's
Yep.
very skinny Benicio. Like
Yeah.
no one was a star in that
No.
movie. Even Gabriel Byrne, who's Irish, who has a
And
really
he
thick
was like
Irish
the
accent.
biggest name.
He's the biggest name, but he was
Yeah.
never an A-lister. He was
No,
a,
no, no, no.
a working B-lister. He was
Yeah.
always a worker. Like he was always in stuff. If you look at, you know what I mean? Like if you look at his bibliography, if you look at his body of work,
Bibliography?
yeah, if you look at his body of work, motherfucker's doing, all kinds of stuff all over the
Like
place. Lots of stuff in
Shipwrecked,
Europe and
my favorite like Disney
Shipwreck.
movie as a kid.
Hello Again with
Okay. What was
do
it?
you
End
remember
of Days? Wasn't he in that one too?
was
Or
he in End of Days with yes he was. That was the two, and then Arnold did his
no? Am I
biblical
thinking of
apocalyptic one.
Stigmata?
Those were the two. That was Patricia Arquette. She was in Stigmata. With
Yeah,
Gabriel Byrne.
with Gabriel Byrne, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. End of Days was Schwarzenegger, wasn't it? Those were
Schwarzenegger
the
and Kevin Pollak was
two.
in that one, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Anyway, so Usual
Anyway,
Suspects,
yeah,
an oddball cast of just character actors, though.
yeah.
No, that's what I mean. Is like
And who did that movie?
Chris.
Wasn't it
There's no
Bryan
Chris
Singer?
Pratt. That was Bryan Singer's first. It was his
Yeah.
directorial debut, and
So,
Christopher McQuarrie wrote the screenplay. He got best screenplay for it, and now he's
oh,
the one. He's been making movies ever since, and he's working in Tom Cruise's
you know,
game.
with
He's
those
been doing
funny.
the Mission Impossible movies now.
But I just heard Kevin Pollak bring up a thing because he got an Academy Award for that. The writer did that you just mentioned, right?
Oh, and
he
how
was,
the lines out, the best lines are improvised.
90% of that movie, so I'd like to borrow that
Yeah.
Academy Award anytime. He's
Yeah,
like,
it's
that
true.
movie, the script was there, but it was like a few pages.
The structure's all there, but like the character
Yeah.
flavor, it's because they hired character actors. You're gonna
Right.
get character flavor. That's why the characters are so interesting, because the actors, like the script is there in terms of plot and narrative. It's moving because it is a plot movie. It's a plot heavy movie. In
Yeah.
fact, that could have been a detriment of the movie if they hadn't gone the character actor route, sort of thing. It could have just like it's only carried by its plot.
Right, by the
What's
plot,
interesting
not
is that
the-
the plot
yeah.
is awesome, and then they got interesting character actors to bring an interesting sort of offbeat at times, sort of flavor to each of their characters, which make them
And of
compelling
course,
on screen.
it-
You had a ballsy young director like Bryan
Right.
Singer, who's like,
And then
it's his first movie. I want to show off
make-
a little bit,
You make that great iconic lineup scene as well. That's
which
lived on.
was
But then once again, of
which
course,
was
it
a
came out to
mess.
theaters and bombed. But
And
then it was
bombed.
a word of mouth movie.
Yeah. So Fight Club was the same way. And this is the thing. It rewards repeat viewing.
Yeah.
Most of those movies don't do well in the box office because it isn't until you see it the second time that you see
Right,
the richness of the tapestry.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, even when Fight Club came out, it tanked and it was just totally panned until, like, I didn't know anyone who liked that movie in the theater besides me until it came out on DVD. And people watched it again, and they didn't remember really what happened in it, but they do remember that, oh, Brad Pitt and Edward Norton, aren't they the same guy? And so when they watched it the second time, they had that
You have to see it a
inkling
totally
going
different way.
into it. And then
Yeah.
as it evolves, they're like, whoa. And then they saw more of like the social because it's a satire. It's ultimately a satire. So
Yeah.
like you see the social commentary of it and all, there's lots of layers going on in that movie. And then it gained like a cult
Following.
became a cult.
Yeah.
But I was one of those people who loved Fight Club and showed everyone's like, you have to watch this movie. It is like a subversive masterpiece.
Yeah.
A masterpiece of subversion but super smart and also like
Super fun too.
but really snarky and
Yeah.
satirical, and I love that. Fight Club's one of my favorite movies. So
Yeah. It's mine
Anyway.
too. Yeah. Anyway.
so Usual Suspects, but I
Suspects.
think I watch Usual Suspects, and I'm just
Usual
watching. I still like. I'll put it on when I'm working. If I'm editing, I'll put on the Usual Suspects, and I'll find myself just drawn to it to watch. Like, oh, this scene is so good, and then
Yeah.
it'll move along, things will happen, and then something will come up, and you watch. Oh my god, this scene is so good. And then move along, and oh my
then
god,
before
this
you know
scene is
it,
so
it's
good.
over.
And
You're
I'm like,
wow,
oh my
all
god,
those
I've
scenes are so
watched
good.
3/4 of this movie, and I haven't worked at all because this movie is so fucking good.
Yeah.
But none of it is. But it's not too flashy. That's one of the things I like about it. It's like it's not. It doesn't shout. It's like, hey, look at me, aren't I clever? And you know what I mean? Like it doesn't. It's
Yeah.
not too flashy, and it's just solid and
It's just
confident. It's
solid. Yeah,
confident.
dude, I'm
It's
with
just
you.
confident, and
Yeah.
I like that. It doesn't overplay its hand in a
Yeah.
lot of ways, and it just holds up. Good stuff.
Right
All right,
on.
your turn.
Well, I'm gonna go back a ways. And I don't even know why this one's on my mind, but it is definitely one of those great classic musicals that I think that any generation could sit down and watch and enjoy, right? So that I put down Singing in the Rain.
I have never seen Singing in the Rain.
Wow, that's surprising. Now I
I do
know
like musicals though.
Now I know that when we're gonna challenge each other with some trivia and stuff like that, I know exactly
Mm.
where to start picking stuff from to see if you know it or not. But yeah, "Singing in the Rain," just a great musical. Obviously, you know the song "Singing in the Rain." I'm
Sure.
assuming you've heard that
I know
at
it
least
mostly
once.
from The Professional, Leon, The
Yeah,
Professional.
yeah,
That's what I know the most about Singing in the
that's
Rain.
funny. I hear it the most when we watch What About Bob? Because he's got that whole,
Mm.
like, shtick
Yeah,
where he's just
I'm
singing it over and over again.
sailing. I love that movie.
I love What About
Or I
Bob?
used to. I haven't watched it in a while. I wonder if
I
that would
watched
hold
it
up.
just about a month ago,
Does
so
it still
it still
play?
holds up.
Cool.
Since we're on that topic, but "Singing in the Rain," man, it's just a classic musical, kind of like the White Christmas musical that you can like
Okay.
put on almost at any Christmas time that anyone will just feel like the joy of Christmas and stuff. This one is just pure joy. And I love movies like that. It's just pure entertainment, pure joy. Like you just feel love coming through the TV screen. And you know what I mean? Like it puts you in
Mhm.
a different mood, makes you feel lighter in your step. You definitely want to start going and singing and dancing and tap toeing around the house after you see it. That's all. Um, yeah, "Singing in the Rain." I love it. I've seen it so many times throughout my life, and I
Mhm.
think it's still a great movie. Not like every musical from that time. Like for me, like what's the other one? West Side Story. I've tried rewatching that
I
like three
actually
times recently, and I
I
can't
actually
get through
haven't
it.
seen it, nor Spielberg's. I haven't seen Spielberg's
I
either.
haven't seen Spielberg's yet. I definitely need to check that out. That's a shame. That's on Disney Plus, I think, right now. So there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to check that one out. I would love to see a new musical. I love musicals. I don't know what it is about them.
What's your
They're
favorite
fun.
musical? What's your favorite musical?
Ooh, Little Shop.
Of
Yeah,
horrors.
I think it's Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
I wasn't expecting that answer. Right on. I haven't seen that in a hot minute either, but
Yeah.
feed me.
Feed me Seymour. Yeah. No. Little Shop is definitely one of my favorites. It's dark. You know what I mean? I love it because like I was just saying, like this is just pure joy, pure love and stuff like that. But I also love dark humor and stuff. And Little
Oh
Shop,
yeah.
Rick
It
Moranis is so
is.
good in it, and Steve Martin is like at the top of his game in that movie, in my opinion. And the little cameos from John Candy and Belushi, and Bill Murray and stuff like that throughout the movie. Just I don't know, I love that movie.
I think
And of course, then I got a chance to be in the musical when I was in high school, so I have a huge
oh,
love
a
for
connection, sure. Yeah,
yeah
that makes a
with
huge
that. But
difference.
that's still my favorite musical. Do you have one yourself?
My favorite musical is Moulin Rouge.
You know what?
So,
I'll count it. That's still a musical, even though it's a
that came
hodgepodge of like pop songs. I'll still
my
count it.
sister I was actually in massage therapy school. I went to massage therapy school right out of high school because I wanted to write. Um, but I knew I needed a job and I didn't want to be a server. And I like boho coffee houses, but they don't pay enough. So it was one of those like, I need a trade. I'm going to be a massage therapist. So I went to massage therapy school. And
Yeah.
while I was there, I actually got sick one weekend and I was, in bed all weekend, that sort of thing. And I asked my older sister, hey, and this was this is pre 9/11, the summer before 9/11. Yeah. And when that movie came out, had just come out. And so on video or something like that. Anyway, my sister said, you need to watch this movie. It's called Moulin Rouge. And I remember watching it, and I don't know, I was sick or something like that, but I was just 100% like totally on board with what that, you know what I mean? Like I was just like my mood or whatever, I was totally in the right frame of mind to watch that movie. And it's been one of my favorites ever since. I have it. Like I know all the songs and
I
all that
just
shit. I love
rewatched
that
it
movie.
again, man. I mean, another movie that holds up. Like,
As
I didn't know this list was going to get this long, but I did just rewatch it. It threw it on in the background while we were cleaning the house, and to get the energy up and
I
stuff. But I
love
had
it.
a similar
Yes.
experience. I
I
had
was
some
made for
girls.
loving you, baby.
I'd
You
never
were
heard of
made
it.
for loving me.
And I was over at some girls' apartment and stuff, some very cute girls I was definitely trying to hang with. And they like brought it up and they were like, "This is our favorite movie of all time." And I was like, "I've never seen it or heard of it." And I got sucked in
Oh,
and just
when was
enjoyed the
this?
whole thrill ride.
When?
Long time ago.
Oh,
God,
okay.
right
Oh,
out of
okay.
high school. I want to say like
Okay.
maybe 2002-ish.
Okay.
Because I'm old like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, a long time ago. So yeah, I don't remember what year that movie came out, but I just remember that time of sitting there and thinking like these girls love this movie. This is probably going to be some weird girly movie that I'm not going to
It is
like.
not.
And I was hooked like that. I was
Yeah.
hooked
We
like
like,
that.
and you like the
Um,
music too. Yeah.
and
If
of
you like
course I love,
musicals, I know a lot of people who really, really hate that movie, and that's fine. It's
yeah,
very, it's one of those like, I don't necessarily recommend it to people, but on just a personal level, I adore that movie.
yeah. I think it's fun.
Baz.
The
I
funny
haven't
thing
seen
is
Baz's
that
new one, Elvis. Have you seen Elvis yet? I
yes, I
haven't seen.
have. So I
Is
liked
it
the first hour of Elvis, and I didn't like the last hour of Elvis. I know this isn't a critique channel, but for
sure?
me, the last hour just felt like it dragged on a little bit. It didn't have the same energy vibe. I didn't really enjoy the fact that it was told from the point of view of the
The
Colonel
Colonel.
Sanders guy that was played
That's
by
what I
Tom
heard.
Hanks
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. It just felt like it cut out a lot of beats of Elvis's life that
Okay.
felt like they were important to the story for me to feel that at the end.
Do you
That's
think there
my
might be
personal.
like a director's cut, you know what I mean? With like 40, like a 45-minute longer version
I don't know.
that would help it out, you
I
know
don't
what I
know.
mean? Because I
The
feel that way
first
about
the first half of it has this great energy and
mhm.
this great vibe, and then it just the vibe and the energy kind of taper off in the second half. But then I don't get to feel the dramatic impacts because they're just sort of skipping over a lot of beats in his life.
Yeah,
But
that
it's
just
all
makes me
dramatic, and it's
think that
just like, yeah,
that they shot a lot more and had it like
maybe,
when I hear something like that, I think, all that
maybe
shit
you're right.
probably
Maybe
ended
there's
up
more.
on the cutting room floor. And there's a lot of politics that go and a lot of
Yeah,
consideration, you know what I mean?
but
And
it's a Baz
so,
Luhrmann film, like you know what I
but
mean.
it
So it
it's
is. It
bad.
is
So,
his
but
thing.
like
Yeah,
Australia is long as fuck.
I've never seen Australia. But I
I
that
like
one kinda
Australia.
came and went,
It
so
Yeah, it did. Again, it's not a critique, but I like Baz. You know what I mean? Like I like his
mhm,
movies, even if I don't just love every moment or whatever. Like I'll go catch it. It's like Wes Anderson or someone. Like, yeah, I want to see Baz's new movie, sort of thing. That's why Elvis, even if it's not blown away, it's like, yeah, but it's Baz's new movie. I'm gonna see Baz's movie. I've been following his career since
yeah.
fucking Romeo and Juliet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
that's why I got it all hyped because Romeo and Juliet was available to stream, so I went back to rewatch it because we weren't allowed to watch that version in high school for some reason, and
we
it's like
were
they
though. That was the
literally are
one we actually
spitting
watched
out.
both. I had to write an essay comparing and
I
contrasting.
wish, man. My teachers, we had to watch the old one, but that one has nudity in it, which I thought was weird. And so
Underage nudity, no
yeah,
less. There's a
exactly.
thing that
And
was in the
then
news
and then
recently
they're like,
that
"Well, the new one's too violent." And I was like, "The fucking script is violent." Like,
hello.
you're teaching me Shakespeare and it's violent. So this is just, I mean, granted, it's a little flashier and more modern and they're using the guns and stuff, but like it still didn't make any sense why I couldn't watch that interpretation of it, right? You're trying to make
Yeah.
me
I
understand
mean,
Shakespeare. Why
either
not let us
thou or
relate a
I
little bit?
or both shall go with him.
Mhm,
Like
yeah.
when Tybalt dies, like what is it, Mercutio dies. They all die. This is
Yeah.
what
Exactly.
it's too
And then
violent. What do
there's
you
like
mean? They all fucking die. It's
they
teen
commit suicide
suicide.
at
What
the
do
end.
you
What?
what do you mean
Yeah.
it's too violent? The fucking script, the story.
Yeah.
Hello.
It's extremely violent. So I don't know why you're
Yeah.
worried about me seeing the violence when we're reading about the violence. Anyway, sorry, that brought up
But that was
something very old
yeah,
inside of
sorry.
me.
It's true. Yeah, that's some high school. Yes, look at that
Yeah.
high school rant. I
Yeah.
love it. That's a high
Well,
school rant.
that about wraps it up for this week, man. I figured we're gonna definitely come back and have some fun next week with some Mad Libs script writing. I think is what we're
That'll
gonna
be fun.
attempt to
Yeah,
do.
we're gonna play a little game along with whatever topic we decide
Whatever
on.
we
But
choose.
whatever we choose. Yeah. But we're gonna start. I think we're gonna start trying to, have introducing some other variations, just little games and little asides and stuff like that. Just bring some variety to it, along with our banter that I love so much.
Yes.
Man, I love these. I love coming down here.
I know. I hate to
in the
even cut it
studio,
off, but it's time to go.
I love doing this. It is. Yeah, we can't do this forever, but man, I enjoy talking to you so much about this stuff.
Yeah, likewise, man. And thank you all very much for tuning in to today's show. If you've been enjoying what you heard, tune in every week for more. Please consider subscribing on whatever platform you're enjoying us on. Let us know in the comments below your favorite movie from your childhood that still holds up today. I know we definitely had more to talk about, so who knows? Maybe there will be enough suggestions that we can do a whole nother episode just talking about that. So we'll see you next time right here on Back to the Podcast. Bye-bye.